We go to Nate, Monty, and then Lee Spencer.
Nate Ryan, USA Day. Danica, kind of following up on that, you talk about maybe looking like you're a bit of a pushover in IndyCar. I would take the opposite view if we were to ask Tony Kanaan or Dan Weldon or Ryan Briscoe or Scott Dixon. I mean, you've stood up for yourself quite a bit over there. Has that prepared you well maybe for now? Maybe you're relishing the chance that now you're finally feeling acclimated to this series, that maybe you can maybe do a little bit more here than you do there to throw your weight around?
Yeah, I think that I'm starting to find the right ways to handle situations. I think in the past I just used to yell about it. I'd stomp down pit lane and go to yell at somebody. But what matters is what happens out on track. So I've found that the best thing to do is to give people a taste of their own medicine out there, and I found that you also gain respect, hopefully, in those situations too, because you just respect them for standing up for themselves. So it's not like it's all bad news when you give somebody what they gave you. It can be a beneficial thing. So I think that just maturity-wise as a driver, it's helped me, whether I continue to do IndyCar or whether I do this. I think that that learning process this year has been a good one for me, and has demanded respect out there, whether they just decide not to cut me off or whether they actually decide to, in their heart, respect me.
Monty Dutton, Gaston Gazette. I have two questions, Danica. Number one, I was interested in your discussion about Indy cars and stock cars. Obviously, much of that is obvious, but when you're in an Indy car, when you're in a stock car, when do you feel like you, as the driver, have more to do with success? I have one more question if you want to go ahead and answer that. Well, what I mean is the whole age-old argument, is it all car, is it all driver, whatever. As a driver, when you're sitting in any car, do you feel more responsible? Do you feel you can do more? You're more important?
I believe they both take a driver and a car, definitely. I mean, an Indy car, the general setup is not quite as critical, I guess. We have a lot of downforce, but when you get out there to brave through those moments when people are crossing over all over in front of you and taking the wind off of you, which is far more effective. It affects our cars a lot more in an open wheel car. To be able to trust the car going all the way up in these cars, doesn't seem like a big deal to go up 3 or 4 lanes. But in an Indy car, we don't really run up there because we don't need to. It's just a long way around. But to brave that out and get up there and go there early or go where you need to go, there's an art form to that. It's a bit more of a floating chess match out there. So that's a discipline in Indy car. And then in these cars, you don't have you also have cockpit adjustments in IndyCar, which is something that you don't have in these cars. But the one thing in these cars is that you do have to brave the run. You have to get through the run. You can't just fix it in the cockpit to make it better a little bit until you can come into the pits and take out or add front wing. But on stops in stock cars, you can change a lot more. I mean, shoot, when I was struggling at Michigan, and I know this isn't obviously time effective for a pit stop, but they disconnected the rear bar. That's a huge change in an Indy car. So you can't do that on a pit stop. They can change rubbers and wedges and tire pressure. There's a lot of stuff you can change in these cars on a pit stop. So, you do have to go through the run. So I could go on and on with how difficult each one of them are. So neither one is easier than the other. They're just different.
And the second thing is that last week you were running respectably and you got wrecked. From your point of view, do you feel, do you get that something always happens mentality? Or does it not matter to you, the finishing position, that you don't have anything on your worksheet, that you've gotten better, and what happens in the stupid little silly standings doesn't make that much difference?
Yeah, I know it's I think about the standings from a team perspective. I know that, they want to finish the best as possible, but for me, it's like, at the end of the day, it's probably more important that I run well for, 142 laps and fall out for the last 8 than it is to, luck into, getting a lap back and having a decent finish. It was better for me to have a good race than it was to just finish well. One of them is the process, and one of them is just the results. So, it's easy to get confused. It's easy for me to get confused in those. I mean, that kind of happened to me this year. I got disappointed with all my results, especially in IndyCar, that they weren't great. But I could be having a great weekend and just something happened. You choose the wrong downforce. You something happens where you just don't have a good result. Maybe you something happens anyway. So, there was plenty of times where I did good things and didn't have good results. So you just have to focus on the times that you have good days and what you learned, and it'll all come together. It'll all come together, and all of a sudden one year you'll just catch all the breaks and you have a good year. But, I don't think the result is so important to me right now.
We'll go with Lee, and then we'll finish up over here with TV, and we'll have to call it quits for Danica. Go ahead, Lee.
Lee Spencer, Fox Sports. Has Boucher called you to apologize yet?
Thank you. No.
When people wreck people in cars, it usually, tradition over there that they will call and at least discuss it before they.
Well, he had an opportunity. We had rookie meetings yesterday morning. We are pitted in the garage right next to each other. There's an opportunity if he wanted to say something.
And who's been the best person here to help you from a competition standpoint? What kind of feedback did Mark give you yesterday, or is there somebody else who's really been in your corner to help you get up to speed?
There's an endless list of drivers that are willing to help me. It really is. I think for me it's a matter of hearing all those things, and I kind of have to learn for myself because they don't all fit yet. The car isn't doing the things that they describe it needs to do, but when it does it, then all of a sudden it's in the back of my mind, and I can learn from that, and I can go, oh yeah, that's what they're talking about, and they were saying do this now. So I can practice then on the fly. I don't have to have something happen or feel something and then ask questions later. I can capitalize on the moment right when it happens because I've heard about it. So Mark said something really important to me at Dover, actually, when I was taking my 100-lap break, is that he just, he said the front of the car should do what you ask it to do. And I thought, holy crap, I can't even imagine that after how bad I was pushing at Dover. I was like, I can't even imagine that the front would do what I wanted it to do. So I took that into Fontana, and I tried to get the front to do what I wanted it to do. And a lot of people talk about how, you get into the corner and you wait for it and it kind of rotates and you come off the corner and, when it doesn't do that, it's not right yet. So I've been, from Fontana on, I've been just saying, look, I'm not getting enough of that pivoting rotation in the middle of the corner that I need to feel so that I can wait for it and then go, because I had that at Fontana and I had a good day. So, trying to achieve that and trying to get the front to do what I want it to do, and then just, putting up with as loose of a rear as I can, due to the change that happens from the beginning to the end of a run. You need the front end.
Last question over here, please.
Alan Cavana, Channel 9 here in Charlotte. Danica, last week you were running well. This week it's a different race car. Is that a difficult transition?
People asked me at Michigan if I felt like the car was a lot different, and I would have no idea. I don't know what it's supposed to feel like in the old Nationwide car here versus the new one. So to me, it honestly just feels still like a Nationwide car. So I'm hoping that my ignorance will be a bliss and will pay off for me, because I'm not trying to achieve something that can't happen with this car, let's say. So for me, it's all fine, and I'm just continuing my learning process. The only thing we took really from Michigan was that we went into the race and we were running well in practice, and then it was so loose in the race, and it was actually loose in qualifying too, and it was just a nightmare. So I guess we'll have to keep that in mind for qualifying in the race this weekend, and maybe there's something about this car that happens. I don't know. But that's Tony Jr.'s department. He's the smart one. He's the mad scientist over there. So I'm sure he'll make good decisions. He did a great job last weekend, and he's doing a good job all year. It's just a matter of me catching up with my experience.
All right, Danica, thanks. Good luck this weekend.
Thank you. Don't make me look like a meanie.